It gives me great pleasure today to introduce our speaker. John Lai received his DPhil in Oriental Studies from Oxford in 2005, and he is an alumnus of Wadham College. He is currently professor in the Department of Cultural and Religious Studies at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. His research interests focus on Chinese religion literature and Global Yijing studies, that is on the Book of Changes. He has published more than 10 books, and I'll mention just two, literary representations of Christianity in the late Qing and Republican China, which came out in 2019, and An Annotated Anthology of the Yijing Commentaries by the early Qing Jesuits, I don't know what that was, Joachim Bouvet, which came out in 2021. He will talk to us today about the principles and practice of Chinese divination. Please give him a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Richard, for your kind introduction. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming to this talk. It's my great privilege and honor to be here. So it's a homecoming journey for me because I got my DPhil exactly 20 years ago, right? Just right across the Park Road at Wadham College. So I spent, 4 years doing my research right in this building, actually, in what we call the new Bodleian Library. Now it's the Western Library, yeah. So it's a great pleasure to come back. Okay, sorry. So today, I'm going to share with you, of course, this is an introductory kind of lecture. For those who have read the text already or you are very familiar, just bear with me, okay? For the sake of the most of the audience, I will try to give an introductory lecture on this fascinating book, especially the principle and practice of divination, right? Using the I Ching, right? Or some people would call it I Ching, okay? I Ching, I think is quite kind of modern in a sense because everybody has got an iPhone, iPad, everything is I. So it's a great idea to have another one called I Ching, right? So sometimes I just refer to I Ching. But strictly speaking, it's I Ching, right, in Chinese. Okay, the I Ching, if you don't know Chinese, I will recommend this English translation to you, right, which is here, right? So the translator is very prominent, a German translator called Richard Wilhelm. Actually, last year in our university, we celebrated the centenary of the publication of the German translation of the I Ching, which was published in 1924. So we celebrated the centenary last December. And the German translation was retranslated into English in 1950 in the United States, right? And this has become a bestseller, right? And has turned it into a world classic, I would say. They're from a Chinese classic to a world classic. And the eminent translator, Richard Wilhelm, remarks in his introduction that the Book of Changes, either I Ching or I Ching, okay? So I Ching in Chinese is unquestionably one of the most important books in world literature. So we try to contextualize this ancient Chinese classic in world's literature. And another prominent scholar called Richard Smith, okay? He has written a fascinating biography, okay, of this particular text, the I Ching. So the I Ching, a biography. In case you would like to know the birth, the growth, the dissemination, the reception of this fascinating book across the group, then I would recommend this to you, right? So he remarks, Richard Smith remarks, I Ching deserves to be considered one of the great works of spiritually inspired world literature, right? Again, it's a world classic. I would like to give you two interesting examples that the I Ching inspired, for example, American music, right, in the early 1950s. I'm not sure whether you have heard about this American composer called John Cage, right? So, so it's quite famous. And then he read the I Ching in 1950, right, when it was first published. And then in 1951, he was inspired by this book to compose the so-called the music of changes, right, which is very kind of avant-garde experimental music. So you can go to YouTube to have a taste about this. It's hugely influenced by the I Ching. Another famous example is Bob Dylan, right? I believe you've heard his songs, right? Very famous songs. And I'm not sure you know that he is actually still alive, right? So a great fan and enthusiast of the I Ching, especially in the 60s and 70s, right? So in one of his interviews in 1965, he remarks that there is a book called the I Ching. I'm not trying to push it. I don't want to talk about it, but it is the only thing that is amazingly true. Period. All right. So, and actually, if you're interested, there are some songs written by him using some I Ching symbols, using some hexagrams, especially the result of divination. So he did consult the I Ching and then write the result of the divination into some of his songs. All right. So in case you're interested, you can go, for example, the so-called Idiot Wind, something like that. So there are some songs with a lot of allusions to the I Ching in the 60s. Okay, let me just give you a very brief introduction about this particular text, all right, before I'm going to demonstrate the divination, right? Okay, the I Ching in Chinese, right, the Yi, okay, so meaning changes, basically, changes. So it's one of the most ancient Chinese cosmological, religious, philosophical text in the Chinese civilization. Probably, if you contextualize it into human civilization, it's also one of the most ancient texts, dating back to roughly, I would say 4,000 years ago. So something like that. And if you look at the word yi, okay, in Chinese, actually it's composed of two parts, the upper part and the lower part. So some kind of philologists will kind of analyze this character into the two parts. The upper part actually is the sun, right? That we are enjoying the very sunny day today. And then the lower part is the moon. So actually, the changes that we are talking about is the evolution between the sun and the moon that we are experiencing every day, right? So, and the sun and moon, actually, they are also symbolisms. You know the Tai Chi, right? The Tai Chi, the yang and the yin. The white is the yang force, or the light force, or the light principle. The black is the say the dark principle, or yeah. So the yin force. And so we can in the I Ching context, we use two symbols to represent the yang and the yin. Okay, so the one kind of unbroken solid line symbolizes the yang force, right? Which is kind of solid, very strong, etc. The yin is a broken line, line that symbolizes receptive force, right? There's some gap in the middle. That means it can receive it's a force of reception. So So these two principles are the major kind of principles in our cosmos. So we can extend the symbolisms to, for example, life and death, right? Life could symbolize, yang symbolizes life, yin could symbolize death, or good and evil. All these kind of binary concepts, we can use yang and yin to represent. So somehow we are living in the world of the yang and yin, or the sun and the moon, right? So I think for us, we haven't read the text itself. You have seen this national flag of South Korea, right? I think this is a very striking visual representation of the text. So if you have forgotten everything what I said, you just remember this, then you know this is a visual representation of the text. Because right in the middle, you have the, a beautified version of the Tai Chi, right? That we have talked about. The red is the yang, the blue is the yin, okay? Tai Chi is considered what we call the supreme ultimate. It could be the source of the whole universe, right? In the I Ching context. So the source of all life, the whole universe, right? And then we see four trigrams there, all right, are surrounding the Tai Chi. They symbolize the four primary elements of our world, of our universe, right? So do you know what does it symbolize? The three solid lines, all the yang forces. So this is actually the very first trigram, or the very first hexagram. When you say hexagram, it's a combination of two trigrams, right? So one trigram is 3 lines, and then hexagram, there are 6 lines. So the combination of two trigrams will be 64 hexagrams. I will show you in a minute, okay? But anyway, this first trigram is heaven, all right? Or sky or heaven. That because it's the most kind of solid, strong, creative force, right? Heaven. The other side, 3 kind of yin lines is the earth, right? So earth is receptive, right? In a sense. And then this one with one solid line in the middle and then surrounded by 2 broken lines. This symbolizes what? Do you know? It symbolizes water. Water, right? Water is the source of life, right? So water is very important for all the living creatures, right? So so it seems to be very soft, right? Water, right? It can be how to say? It can accommodate into any vessel, right? It seems to be quite soft, right? Water, but actually in the middle it contains huge kind of energy, right? For example, you have a tsunami or waterfall, right? You actually, there are very solid yang force in the middle, right? And this one, so we've got water and then we've got fire, right? So fire sounds to be very solid, yang force in the surface, but actually it's somehow hollow in the middle, right? So anyway, they use these lines to symbolize all these natural phenomenon or elements, right? And of course, they also can symbolize the fire could symbolize the sun, and then water symbolize the moon. So you've got heaven and earth, say water or fire, or the sun and the moon, right? So these are the most important elements in our world or in our nature. And actually, that flag is a simplified version of the 8 trigrams, because we do have 8 primary trigrams. In a minute, I'll show you how they derive, right? But you can see there are 8 trigrams. So we've got heaven there, and then earth. In Chinese, Kun, right? Qian and Kun. And then water is Han, right? And then Li. Fire is Li. So, you've got the 4 primary trigrams out of the 8, right? So I think the South Koreans are very clever or very wise instead of choosing the 4 most important trigrams to represent actually the whole cosmos or universe, right, in a sense. Okay, if you're interested, I'm going to show you how, right, the formation of the cosmos in the I Ching context is not like the Christian context that the world is created by God, right? But we always start with the Tai Chi, right? Tai Chi is the supreme ultimate. It's the origin of the cosmos, right? And the I Ching is a binary system. So from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, right? So just like the computer, you've got 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Somebody say they are kind of related to the I Ching, right? So the yang line is 1, and then the yin is 0. So basically it's 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, okay? So, and then Tai Chi is a unified 1, is 1, okay? So that's before the, separation of the yang and yin force. It's just one unit, right? So from 1, and then you will become 2. Let me just show you how to because there are some Chinese characters there and you may not recognize. But anyway, I can show you here. How do they come up with the 8 trigrams, right? Hopefully after today, then you know how to draw this, right? So we'll start with the Tai Chi at the bottom. Okay, so you've got the yin within this yang, and then this is the yin, and then you've got a dot there. So this is 1. From 1, this will be related to my demonstration in a minute about the divination. So this is related. If you understand this, it will help us to explain the process of divination. Because the process of divination will follow this process of the formation of the cosmos, right? Okay. So from 1, then we'll have 2, right? So this is a yang line, a solid, unbroken line. This is a broken line. So this one line would symbolize heaven, okay? 1 yang force. And this is the earth, right? So we understand this. And then from this, again, we have 2, right? From here, 2. And then how do we draw it? Okay, normally we start from the bottom up, So we start with a yang line here, and then we add 1 yang line on top, okay? And then add 1 yin line on top, right? Here we start with the yin line. Again, we add 1 yang line, and then 1 yin line. Then from 2, we have 4 symbols. These 4 symbols, can you guess what do they symbolize? With heaven and earth, and then we have got 4 seasons. 4 seasons, okay? We are living in, for example, spring, and then we have summer, and then autumn, and winter, right? So we have 4 seasons. Then we need to know which symbol symbolizes which season, okay? So with 2 yang lines, that means with a lot of yang forces, I think it's easy to guess which season. Summer, right? Summer. You've got a lot of sun, a lot of light, very long day, right? So this is summer. So the opposite with 2 yin lines mean it's very dark, damp, right? So we have just experienced a few months ago, right? So this is winter. And here, which one symbolizes spring, do you think? This one or this one? Okay, I think this one, right? This one, because the base, okay, the base is still yin line, so it's still very cold and dark. But there is emergence of some light, some warmth. So here, so this is spring. Here, similarly, with the yang line there, they is still fairly hot and light in a sense, but you see the emergence of some coolness, all right, some darkness there. So this is autumn, right? And then we will give it a name, okay? So because there are two yang lines, we will say this is old yang. This is the yang force is very old in a sense. And this is, we will say, old yin, right? This one, we will say yang yang. Because there's the spring, there's still some potential to develop the yang force. So it's called a yang yang, okay? This one, autumn, is we call yang yin. All right? So yeah, I hope you can follow. So the changes that we are talking about is that when you have the yang yang, there's still the change to be old yang, so from spring to summer. In the Yijing context, when you reach to the extreme, then you will change. When it is old yang, then you will become yang, yang yin. From yang will become yin. So it's from old yang to yang yin. From yang yin will become old yin. Okay? From old yin, you will become yang yang. So you follow this kind of changes that we are talking about, right? So basically, it's the change of the proportion of the yang and yin forces, basically, in our world, right? So I hope you can follow. In a minute, we will come back to this, all right, when we do the divination. Okay, if you understand, I will quickly talk about the development of the 8 trigrams. Okay. With this? Oh, really? Okay. Okay. No worries. Okay. Is it better? Okay. Just, okay. Thank you so much for your help. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So if you follow the these 4 seasons, then actually you know how to draw this. So we start with 2 yang lines at the bottom, right? And then you just add 1 yang line and then 1 yin line. Okay. Similarly, we start with this 1 yang line and then 1 yin line. Then you add 1 yang line and then 1 yin line. Okay. Here again, you start with this. You add 1 yang and then 1 yin. Here, one yang and then 1 yin. Right? Then you've got 8 symbols. Right? So I think it's easy to remember. So with 3, you still haven't. You remember the national flag, right? The 3 yang lines is still heaven. So here is still earth. And then you know the water, right? This is water with 1 yang line in the middle. So this is water. And then here, this is fire. Okay, the rest. Okay, with the yang line at the bottom, we call it thunder. Okay, here, I don't have time to explain the other 4, but I just show you. The wind, this one, we call the lake, okay, the lake here. And this one is the mountain. So you have got 8 primary trigrams there, okay? But the most important ones are the heaven, earth, fire, and water, as we have just shown, all right? Okay, quick. So I don't have time to go through all these 864 today, I'm afraid. So, but anyway, so the principle is that, so we've got the 8 primary trigrams as the upper trigram, okay? And then you've got the 8 primary trigrams as the lower trigram. So when you see a hexagram, there are 6 lines. There are 3 lines at the top, right? We call it upper trigram. And then 3 lines at the bottom, lower trigram. So 8 times 8 will be 64. So the principle is that, so that's why the whole text of the I Ching basically consists of 64 hexagrams, right? So each hexagram, there is an overall judgment about whether some hexagrams are auspicious, some are not, right? Some are warnings, etc., etc. And then each hexagram, there are 6 lines. Each line, you have a line judgment as well, okay? To tell you there's some advice for you to take certain action, whatever, right? So basically 64 hexagrams, in my view, it talks about the 64 different situations or contexts in our human world or human life. It can basically cover most, if not all, our human life, actually, right? I show you some examples. And they are always come in pairs, okay? So we don't read each hexagram separately. They normally come in pairs in some sort of a mirror image or opposite, etc., right? For example, number 7, it talks about the army. It talks about war, okay? Number 8 is talk about peace or union or diplomacy, in a sense. So it's war and peace, basically, okay? And then 11 is one of my favorite hexagrams, is called peace or prosperity, Thai hexagram. The opposite, number 12, is stagnation, right? Or standstill, right? Etc. And then number 23 is called splitting apart, right? So decay, something like that. But after decay, you have return of the light, or resurrection, something like that, right? Or the last 2, 63 is after completion. You complete everything, you achieve your goal, right? But interestingly, the final hexagram is called before completion. It symbolizes that the I Ching is an open text. It's an unending cycle of changes. So it doesn't stop at after completion. For example, you graduated with your A levels, that's the after completion, but you start your undergraduate. Let's start a new journey, a new stage. So it's always a new cycle, right? Something like that. Okay, before I demonstrate the divination, I'd like to give you a taste of the book itself in Chinese, although I speak in English mostly. I learned this from my I Ching teacher in Hong Kong, who inherits the tradition of chanting, I Ching chanting in Cantonese, because Cantonese is my mother tongue, right? So I want to give you a taste of how was the text read, right, traditionally in southern China. Okay, if you don't mind. Okay. This is a very beautiful passage from hexagram 1, the qian. This is basically heaven, right? Qian. But you add 3 more lines there because it's 6 yang lines. The first hexagram, okay? It talks about the origin of the cosmos, okay? And then it talks about how an ideal ruler should rule the whole nation or the empire, right? According to the principle of the heaven, right? Or the mandate of heaven, something like that, okay? Okay, I try to recite this for you. 大哉乾元萬物，之此乃通天，運行於斯， 品物流形，大明宗此六位是成，是成六龍以如天乾道變化，各正聲明，保合太和。乃離正手出書物，萬國咸寧。Yeah, thank you, thank you. So just give you a taste of how was the text. It's a sacred text, I think, in the Chinese civilization. It was recited and chanted, right, as a sacred text. Okay. Let's come to the gist of today's talk, right? Just now I've given you some brief introduction about the text, but it's related to what we are going to talk about because we'll go back to these ideas about the four seasons and the old yang, yang, etc., right? So traditionally, over the past 2 millennia or so, the text was used widely, not solely, okay, widely as a book of oracle. Okay, interesting. I think this is a very special identity of the text. It was used as a book of oracle, a book of divination. For example, not just in China, but in East Asia, right? I think this photograph was taken in early 20th century Japan, all right? So you see a lady in a Japanese costume consulting this diviner, okay? Using, you see the hexagram, right? The first hexagram, actually, I Ching. So this is a I Ching diviner or an expert, right? Consulting him. So the principle of divination, right? According to some scholar, right? Basically, divination is a deliberate search for the understanding of the hidden significance, right? So hidden significance of events in the future, present, or past. Basically, we've got a lot of events going on, just like this Friends of the Bodleian, right? So is there any hidden significance of any event in our life, right? We want to know, right? And he said, if it were obvious, there would be no need to divine. If everything is so obvious, so transparent, no need to divine, right? But I think in our world, we are living in a very complicated world, very chaotic world nowadays, right? A lot of anxiety, uncertainty. So that's why people would like to try to understand or decipher the hidden significance of events, okay? For what purpose? So according to another scholar, so the divination will help us penetrate moments of cosmic order to learn how the way or the Tao is configured, right? And what direction it takes at such moments, and to determine what one's own place is or should be in the scheme of things. We want to understand from this event about the hidden significance or the cosmic order, all right? So because we believe that humanity is not kind of isolated from, especially in traditional kind of cosmology, is not isolated from heaven or the earth. We're living in between, right? Heaven and earth. So there's some kind of resonance between the human life and the cosmic order. And by doing so, one could make right decisions, achieve success, and garner good fortune. Probably this is the major purposes of doing divination for most people, right? I would use an image, just like, do you know how to play chess? I'm not sure whether it's inspired by the I Ching or not, right? Actually, you know the chessboard, basically there are 64, just like 64 hexagrams with yin and yang, right? Black and white. So, and then we are making decisions daily, how to move, how to make every move, right? So if you take a right decision, then you garner good fortune. Otherwise, you face different kind of calamities or dangers, right? So somehow the I Ching would help us try to make good decisions, right? So I think this is the major principle. Okay, without further ado, shall I try to say demonstrate what's the major practice of divination method? Basically, along the history in Chinese civilization, there are different methods, right? But there are the two major ones, I would say. So the most kind of, I would say, authentic or most traditional way of doing divinations that I'm going to demonstrate today are using Yarrow stalks, right? So it's called the Yarrow stalk method, right? Basically using 49 Yarrow stalks to divine a hexagram, okay? But this takes some time. I mean, roughly 25 minutes or so, right, to do it. But I'm going to demonstrate it to you. This is the most authentic method, right? A much easier and shorter method is just using 3 coins, okay? So you can do it within 1 or 2 minutes. I also have 3 coins, right? 3 kind of old brass coins from the Qing dynasty that most people would use. So but I left it to the end in case you want. This is very easy, right? 1 or 2 minutes, we can do it. But this is the most authentic. I believe you would like to have taste of the most authentic one, right? So okay, without further ado, shall I demonstrate it? Okay, maybe yeah, we can swap to. You don't need to move, right? Okay. The colleague is very helpful by having this visualizer so that everybody can see. Okay, great. Joe, give him a big hand. Okay. Thank you so much for preparing this. Because the Yarrow stalks that I have are pretty fragile, and I don't want to destroy it, okay? So normally I just leave it aside, okay? I just use some substitute, okay? You can use some wooden or bamboo stakes or whatever, right? But basically, we start with 50, okay? I don't explain why it's 50, okay? In case you're interested, you ask me later, okay? I don't have time to explain it. But we start with 50, but to start, normally we will have a question in mind, okay? Because you have some kind of uncertainty or anxiety, you want to know, you want to consult the I Ching, just like a wise man, right? What action should I take, or what decision should I take? So then normally you start with a question. I'm not sure whether anybody has a question in mind that really puzzles you. Okay, normally the question will be phrased in a sense of yes and no question. It's not an open question. For example, should I change my job next year? So, to be more specific, right? Or should I get married with this particular handsome young man next year? Something like that, right? So whether this is a good decision or not. Some question like this. Does anybody have? Just for demonstration. Then supposedly the result of the divination would give you some advice to that particular question. Okay, if you choose it, yeah. Your friend would get married. Okay. I'm not sure whether a better way of phrasing it. Normally, we would say whether this is a wise or auspicious decision to make. That might be because normally the line judgments. Okay. In that case, whether it's a wise decision or auspicious decision, something like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Along that line, okay, let's see what the I Ching would respond to that particular question, okay? So with that, okay, then we'll randomly take one stake out from the 50, okay? So we'll put it there, put it aside. This symbolizes what? This symbolizes the Tai Chi, the one. Tai Chi is because it's the what? The origin of the cosmos, and it's always there, stay there, okay, or just like a witness to us, okay, okay. And then we have we use 49 Yarrow stalks or sticks to do it. And then the first process, we randomly split the 49 Yarrow stalks. You don't need to count. Randomly split them into 2, okay? So in other words, from 1 to 2. The 2 symbolize what? Heaven and earth, okay? So actually we're imitating the formation of the cosmos in a sense, right? Very symbolic. So can you guess the left bundle, is it heaven or earth? Left. Heaven. So left bundle is heaven, okay? The right bundle is earth, okay? And then from the right bundle, we take 1, okay, randomly out to put it between the little finger and the ring finger. This one is also very symbolic. Do you know what does it symbolize? We've got heaven and earth and humanity. This human being, okay? Because the text is for human to read, okay? So it's not simply heaven and earth. So we are the protagonist, okay? Human. So we put human there, okay? And then we start from the left bundle. We divide them by 4 as a group. 4 symbolize what? 4 seasons, okay? Very symbolic. So 4 as a group. Okay, I do it, try to do it quickly. 4 as group. And then we've got the remainder, okay? The remainder can either be 1, 2, 3, or 4. So if the last bundle is 4, we also consider it a remainder, okay? But in this case, 2. Then we insert them here. Okay, we repeat the same process here. You can see it, right? Okay, so 4 as a 4 season. Again, we have a remainder of 2. Okay, we put it from here, and then we put all the remainders at the side. Okay, and then we need to repeat the process. So it takes some time. You know how many times we need to repeat in order to get 1 hexagram? So we need to repeat it 3 times to get 1 line. Okay, 1 bottom line. In other words, we need to do it 18 times to get 1 hexagram. Okay, we can speed it a little bit. Okay, 2, and then we take 1 from the because Earth is considered our mother. Earth is a Mother Earth, right? So mother is the origin of all living things. So human comes from here, and then we put 4 as a. Okay, we've got 3 as a remainder. Okay, we put here. 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, you've got 4. So as a remainder, okay? So again, we put this aside. This will remind us how many times we have done. Otherwise, we will forget, right? So how many? So we've done two. What we say 2 changes already. 1 time is 1 change, okay? So we split them into 2, and then we take 1 out, and then divide by 4. Okay, we've got 3 as a remainder. 3 as a remainder. Then 4. 4. Okay, 4 as a remainder. So we've done 3 changes already. So what do we do now? We have to count how many bundles of 4 are left on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 represents what? Okay, here actually we use 4 numbers to symbolize these 4 seasons. Say because now we use 9. Okay, for summer we use 9. Because from 1 to 10, 9 is the largest odd number. Okay, odd number because this is odd number. This is even. Okay, 2. Okay, so this is odd. So the yang line is odd number. Yin line is even number, and 9 is the the largest odd number from 1 to 10. Okay, so this is called what we call the old yang. Okay, and we don't count the 1 to 5 because 1 to 5 is considered, for example, the 5 phases or 5 elements. Okay, so we start with 6. Okay, 6 being the old yin. Okay, and then yang yin, it is 8. Okay, yang is 7. All right. So we've got, according to probability, there are only 4 possible numbers left on the table, either 6, 7, 8, or 9. Okay. So the first line we got is 7. 7 meaning yang. Okay. Let me show you. Then the first line is a yang line. The first line in the sense of the bottom line, because we move from bottom up. All right. So this is a 7. It's the yang. Okay. So it's a solid line. The principle is that when you have 6 or 9, then they are called the changing lines, because when you have the old yang or old yin, they will change to the opposite. All right. So when you have yang yin or yang, they won't change. So 7 or 8, we call it a static line. Static. Okay, it doesn't change. But we have 6 or 9 will be changed. Okay. Okay. Let me just repeat it quickly, if you understand the principle. Okay, we divide them into 2. Okay, and then take one out. This process comes from the I Ching itself, and there's a passage explaining this. And normally I will recite the passage when I do it. Something like 大演之數50，其用40。Pardon? Oh, there's one. Oh, sorry. This should be remainder. Wow, you're so careful. This should be a remainder. Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay. 大演之數50，其用40，有9分2為2，以象2，卦1，以象3，攝之以4，以象4時，歸基。Okay, is correct, right? So try to okay. Okay, 大演之數50，其用40，有9分2為2。Okay, the 4, there's a remainder. 象2，卦1。Okay. Okay, we've done. This is quicker. So how many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is a what? It's a yin line, but it's a yang yin. Okay, again, it's a static. It doesn't change. Okay, it's a static line. 係演之數50，其用40，有9分2為2，以象2，卦1，以象3。Okay, that's correct. 攝之以4，以象4時。Okay, that's the remainder. 演之數50，其用40，以象2，卦1，以象3，攝之以4，以象4時，歸基於勒，以象潤， 歲在潤，故在勒，以後關。大演之數50，用49。Okay, great. So another line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, good. So we've got a changing line. Okay, 9 is also a yang line. This is changing. So we've got the lower trigram already. Can you recognize this lower trigram? We've come across this in the national flag. What's that? Fire. The fire, right? So we've got this is an auspicious one, the fire, because it symbolizes light, and how to say, the light force, the sun, and all the yang force, okay? So let's get to the upper trigram quickly. 大演之數50，I've got more time, I will invite some friends to come to try. But I want to save some time, okay? So you can do it by yourself if you like back home or, okay. Okay, so we've got the remainder. Okay, split into two, and then, so you take some patience to get one hexagram, okay? Pardon? Where to stop? We count the remaining number of bundle. Yeah, how many times? How many times? What do you mean, how many times? Yeah, we do 3 times, 3 changes. I mean, repeat this three times. One remainder remind us that we have done it one time, 2 times, and then 3 times. And then we'll count the remaining bundles. And then there are only 4 possibilities, either 6 bundles, 7 bundles, 8, or 9. Okay? Then they will represent one line, actually. Okay? So thank you for your question. Yeah. So yeah, that's the remainder. Okay. Right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Again, we've got a changing line. 9 is an O yang. So again, this is changing. Changing in the sense that there will be a new hexagram derived from this original hexagram. Supposedly, this will tell you the current situation of the question that you asked, the current situation. The new hexagram will tell you the development of your situation. You change into another situation, in a sense. Okay, that's the principle. Okay, let's 2 more lines to go. 2 more lines to go. Okay, split into 2, and then take one out. I think you are now familiar, right? 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, the remainder. And then 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, the remainder. Okay, so this is one change. Okay. 大演之數50，其用40，有9，分2為2。Okay, 4 is also considered remainder. Four. Okay, we've got 3 as a remainder. Okay, wow, almost there. Okay. Okay, 2, split, get 1 out. 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, 1 as a remainder. 4, 4. Okay, 2 as remainder. Okay, how many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we've got a, oh, similar to this. Okay, so 8, again, is a yin line, but it's a static. Okay, last line. So when we reach this stage, there are only 2 options left, right? Either it's a yang line or yin line. Is that right? So if it is a yang line, that means it's the same as the lower trigram. We've got another fire. Double fire is also a fire. Okay. So, but if it is a yin line, then it is another hexagram, which is I'll tell you in a minute. Okay. Let's see what we got. Okay. 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 2. Take one out. 2. Statistically, it's more difficult to get 6 or 8. 6 or 9, statistically. It's easier to get 7 or 8, statistically, according to some mathematicians. So, okay, 4 as a remainder. So basically, the more you get from here, the less likely that you will get 9. Right? So you understand. The less you get, then you understand the principle. Okay. 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 Take this. Oh, almost there. 4. Okay. 4. So I think it's highly unlikely to get 9. So because we've taken quite a lot of sticks out. Okay. 3. Okay. One more. Last change. Okay. Last change. This one. 4. Oh, wow. We take 4 out. It's likely to get 6 or 7. 6 or 7. Oh, we get 6, I guess. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's a yin line. Okay, 6. The yin line, and then it's changing. Okay, what we got? Okay, here, does anybody know what's this trigram? It's not the 4 major ones, but it's one of the 8. Yes. Good. Thunder. Wow. Do you know it from today or? Oh, great. Give you a round of applause. Okay, thunder. Thunder, because traditionally people would think that thunder comes from bottom up. So when spring come, actually just like we hear the spring thunder from bottom up to wake all the insects or whatever, right? Okay. So this hexagram, can anybody recognize this hexagram? Oh, this is an auspicious one. Okay, I assure you. This feng, yes, in Chinese. Feng is the 50 something. Let me see. Let me clarify. 50 something. 55. 55. It means what? It means abundance. Abundance. It's related to family and actually household. I think it's an auspicious one if you want to set up a family. Feng, because abundance. I'm not sure you have heard about the Taiwanese, the xiaolongbao, the dumpling, which is called Ding Tai Feng. Have you heard about this? Ding Tai Feng. Actually, there are 3 hexagrams. Ding is 1 hexagram. Tai is another hexagram. Feng is another hexagram. They actually use 3 hexagrams, 3 auspicious hexagrams to how to say, to name this particular Michelin kind of restaurant. There's the dumplings, the Taiwanese Chinese dumpling. Feng meaning very abundance. You've got abundant kind of wealth, abundant kind of maybe a lot of children. Feng is a very auspicious, right? But let's see what's the changing hexagram as well. Okay, changing hexagram in a sense will change the changing lines. So if you've got the yin line, then it will become yang line. If you got the yang line, it will become yin line. So let's see what's the future development. Okay, in case this is current development, current situation is good. Okay. Okay, we have to remember this. Okay, so the first line is unchanged, right? The second line is unchanged. The third line is changed. So again, you will change into yin line. Okay. The fourth line will change. The fifth line is unchanged. The sixth line is changed. Okay. Okay, you will become a new hexagram. Okay, anybody recognize this? This is again an auspicious one. Rest assured, your friend. So this is called Yi in Chinese. I think it's the 27th. 24. Actually, this is a very, how to say, visual representation of one of our bodily part. Or bodily part. Can you recognize? No. A good guess? Actually, it's our mouth. These are our lips, upper lip and lower lip. These are the cavity of our mouth. Okay, cavity, because this is a kind of hollow in the middle. And this also represents the upper jaw and the lower jaw. This is the upper jaw, and this is the lower jaw. Why? Actually, this is a thunder, right? You remember this thunder? Thunder symbolizes movement. This one is symbolized mountain. Mountain symbolizes stillness. Our upper jaw, when we eat, when I speak, the upper jaw remains still. It doesn't move. The lower jaw moves when we eat, right? So this symbolizes the movement of our mouth. So this is the most direct meaning, but it means what? How to say? It's auspicious in the sense that you can feed yourself, you can also feed others, and the ruler can feed the whole nation. And also you can cultivate your virtues. So this is a very auspicious one. So in the summer palace of Beijing, it's called Yijing Yuan, if you know that, right, in Beijing. So Yi is a very auspicious one. So whether the current situation or the changing one, great. I think. Okay, shall I stop here? And then I welcome some questions, maybe 10 more minutes to go. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.